Today we're going to pitch a tunnel tent. Very nice. I found a spot right here that I consider good for our tent and for the night, and a few aspects that I want to share with you that I think is important is, of course, that the ground is relatively flat as here, but also that the surface is a bit harder so that the pegs can get a good grip. And another important aspect is, of course, that the ground is free from a lot of vegetation, because we don't want the tent to leave a big footprint for the day after when we take the tent down. One way to find a good tent spot is, of course, to search for an already established campsite. That way you make sure that you don't break any new tent spots. Of course, it's super important to make sure that the equipment is complete when you leave your home before your outing. I normally put the tent pegs in the leg pocket of my trousers. That way I know where I have them and I can easily access the pegs when I need them during the tent pitch. When I find the two corners that I have on top in the bag, I want to align the tent with the wind so that it is in the direction of the wind. If the wind would have been strong now, I would have secured the tent like this with my knee, and then with the two pegs in the corner before taking out the tent of the bag. And the bag I can tuck down in my backpack so that it won't blow away either. All FJALLRAVEN tents are made in a Nordic pitch construction. This means that the inner tent and the outer tent are combined together into one unit. When you pitch them, you get them both pitched at the same time. The big advantage of this is that you will not have to pitch the inner tent first in the rain and then put on the fly sheet on top of it. So everything is in one motion and it makes the pitch easier. So when mounting the poles, you can be a little bit careful so that you don't squeeze the rubber cord inside, and just handle it with a little bit of care. And then simply find the color matched sleeve for the tent pole and feed it in all the way to the bottom into the cup. And here you want to tighten this stretcher as well. Make sure that the pole fits down to the bottom of the sleeve, otherwise you will easily break the tent fabric when stretching the tent. And now it's super easy to erect the tent. I also open up these tent peg holders so that you can adjust it later on. When you have it standing like this, it's time to secure the guy lines. It's always good to do that because the outer fabric of the tent is made from a nylon weave, and the properties of this material is that when it gets moisture, it will expand a little bit, and then it's always good to be able to stretch and adjust. Also, with stretched guy lines, the fabric will not flap as much in the wind, and that will expand the life of the whole tent. So by being able to stretch the guidelines and secure the tent properly, you will make sure that it is functional and in good shape for a long time. For myself personally, I always leave the guidelines untied when I pack the tent, because okay, the downside is that they might get a little bit stuffed and you find them on the wrong spot, but normally it's easier than to make the knot nice and tidy when taking it down. Normally you just don't do that, or I don't. I'm too lazy for that. I like to find the tent with this one extended also, so that I know that I can stretch them later. There are probably just as many ways to pitch a tent than there are people sleeping in tents. The best way to find out your way is, of course, to go out and practice. One thing that I've learned is that if I extend this to begin with, I can find a good spot for the peg. If I find a rock here, I can move it in a little bit like that, and then I can tighten the guy line. So the guy lines at the end of the tent, I try to angle like 45 degrees to the tent body, and then the guy line in the middle, I take the 90 degree out from the tent. This is to give me maximum stability and protection from wind. And now I can a little bit secure the shape of the tent with these peg straps. If it's a really windy day, of course you can also secure the poles with these loops here, but that is for severe bad weather use, I would say. This tent that I've pitched here today is a very traditional Scandinavian tunnel tent. It is our Abisko Endurance 3 model. That means that it is suitable for 3 persons, and our endurance tents, they come with a very large vestibule where you can store a lot of equipment and camp out and have a very nice and comfortable experience inside of the tent with a lot of equipment and everything. The important thing is not which tent you choose. The important thing is that you get out there and spend the night in the tent. Yeah, it is not really harder than that to get a nice and protected night in the outdoors. So welcome out and good night.